Evening, friends, brothers, and fellows, and welcome to Inside the Lodge. I'd like to start off by apologizing for my lack of videos for quite a while. I've been doing some research to put together something that I'm really looking forward to for the channel, just another Masonic education that's taking a while to study. So, be on the lookout for that. I've not quit, I've not gone anywhere. I'm just trying to do a little bit of research to make sure I bring exactly what I want to bring to you guys. I want to bring something good. So that's why I've been gone. This video is actually, I was at my Scottish-rite Valley last night, and during dinner we had one of the brothers who's actually a preacher come up and talk, and I just felt like this was going to be a good speech, and turns out I was right. I'm really happy I recorded it. The guy is just amazing. He's really great. He's a great speaker. Like I said, he's a preacher and a Mason. I think he says a lot of good stuff that's just useful, valuable information. So that's why I'm posting it here. I hope everyone will learn something. I got to apologize for you're going to see part of the ceiling for a little bit there. I don't know how to take that out. But I just hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment. Hope you like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
One is Christianity. That's a major religion. And a religion is generally defined by a set of beliefs and a structure for those beliefs. And the orientation is beyond and has its roots in some reality that is external to the organization. So there's Christianity, then there's Judaism, and then there is Islam. And those three major religions have their origin in Abraham. The technical word is they're Abrahamic, because they can all trace their beginnings back to Abraham. And then there's major divisions in those three. In addition to those three religions, there's Buddhism, there's Hinduism, and if you probably went on the internet and Googled, you'd probably find a host of other religions. But in our country, there are the three major: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And most of the Masons that make up the membership, probably, I know in the southern jurisdiction, are probably Protestants. Roman Catholicism does have some problems with Freemasonry. And probably one of the reasons is because of this thing called the secret. Our secrets. Oh, you're a member of that organization that's secret. Just like Saturday, I had to do a funeral for one of our brothers. A member of the Blue Lodge out of Biscoe, a member of this Scottish-rite, this valley, also a member of the York-rite. Lived in Ashe County, was a member of the church I'm presently serving as an interim. And when I met with the family, they said, we would like for you to lift up something Masonic. Now, all of you know that there's provisions within the ritual for a funeral service for Masons, and I've been a part of it. Most of you probably been to a service where the Masonic funeral ritual is conducted. Well, they didn't want that. This was at the chapel at Hayworth Miller, and I've been there with the Blue Lodge, Piedmont Pioneers, and we did a part of the service. No, they just wanted me to lift up something Masonic. So I touched base with Joey. He sent me some information. And I focused on the apron, the lamb skin, that's presented to all entered apprentices when they come into the Blue Lodge. And I said a few words about that. And that seemed to satisfy the family. Well, then right afterwards, and they were receiving friends, people came up to me and said, "Oh, we certainly appreciate, we learned something about Masonry today." Now, what's this secret handshake? Can you give me an example? Can you give me the secret handshake? And I said, "Nope, you cannot do that." So there's this popular notion out there that's misguided, that Masonry is really made up of people of a secret cult. As I mentioned just earlier, there are many in the church, clergy, others, who have nothing but praise for Masonic orders. And then there are others who are quite critical, and our brother fell into the hands of one of those who is very critical of Freemasonry and convinced him that he could not serve God and Christianity or his Christian religion and be a Mason. A few months ago, I was here and I found this little booklet outside. It's Freemasonry Revealed by Ronald S. Davenport. You probably know him, many of you do. If you haven't seen this little booklet, I encourage you to get one. Joey said they cost about $1. We had a stack of them and then they vanished. But it's just full of information. Freemasonry is not a religion. It is, and it does use religious symbolism in its degree work, in its rituals, and those are generally related, if you come to the reunion, to items or elements within the Holy Bible, which is put upon the altar whenever the Blue Lodge meets. Let me share with you, though the topic of tonight is Freemasonry and religion, let me share you the first word in the first sentence in the foreword. Freemasonry is the oldest and largest fraternity known. So I think when we think about Freemasonry, the next word is fraternity. Not that it's some little secret religious cult that does all kinds of strange things that cannot be publicly advertised or known. But whenever we think of Masonry, we think of the fraternity. And then there's a section in his book entitled Freemasonry and Religion. And he says in here that Freemasonry, while religious in nature, does not profess to be, and does not wish to be a religion, nor does it promote any particular religion. And then he goes on to say that in our fraternity, we're not to introduce things that or subjects that would be controversial and cause a lot of friction within the fraternity. So therefore, we generally hear that, well, when we come to the Scottish-rite meeting or to our Blue Lodges, we don't discuss politics, we don't get down into politics, and we don't discuss religion. Because those two can be very divisive and very polarizing. And we steer clear of those for the purpose of keeping the fraternity at its highest value for all of its members. And there are other kinds of goals that the fraternity has, charity being one of them. So the author here goes into great length to tell us that Freemasonry is not a religion. Now, when we come into the Blue Lodge, there is that religious element that's introduced. In whom do you put your faith? And you're to respond by saying, in God. But you're not asked to define what you mean by God. That's left up to you as an individual. It's kind of like on our coinage and at the courthouse we see emblazoned, in God we trust. And we know that that phrase has been around for a long time during the Eisenhower administration. Remember, the Pledge of Allegiance came in, one nation under God, with liberty and justice. That under God was a response to the Russian astronaut who took that flight, came back and made known publicly, well, I didn't see any God up there. Atheistic communism was at its prime during those Eisenhower years, and so the Congress adopted that phrase, one nation under God. And then in God we trust is something that's on our coinage, and it's probably assumed by most of the American public, those who want to give much thought to it. Well, this must be the God of Judaism and Christianity, or that's in the Holy Bible that's upon our altar in the Blue Lodge, or that we just assume. But there's no official definition. The Congress didn't say, okay, the word God has to be defined in a certain way. It says, in God we trust. That is, a supreme being, a higher power, something external to ourselves. And enter parentheses, here in our area, here in the southeast, are required to give that oath. In God, I put my trust in God. Now, you know and I know this is up for debate. Some of the Grand Lodges, particularly in Europe, are wrestling with this. Some of the Grand Lodges, according to our brother Davenport, do not require any of their incoming members to give that affirmation that they believe or have trust in a supreme being. So, and in some of the Grand Lodges in New England and on the West Coast, that's becoming a matter of discussion. Should we require it? Well, the Grand Lodge in North Carolina says it will be a part of our fraternity and who we are. But it's being discussed. Now, let me share with you, as I mentioned, our brother told the fraternity to no longer be a member because he could not be a Christian and be a Mason at the same time. Now, you can go on the internet, go Google about religion and Freemasonry, and you can come up with all kinds of stuff. I happened to download one of the clergy, not in our area, who's very critical of Freemasonry. And he says he's got three basic reasons. First of all, swearing of secret oaths. And he kind of cherry picks here. And that's always possible. Whenever you want to present an argument, you generally cherry pick some of the major premises of your argument. And I think he has done that in this. And of course, there's certain things that we say when we're going in the Blue Lodge. And he lifts those up and he says, look, this is a reason from a Christian point of view and a scriptural point of view, you should never be a Mason. The swearing of secret oaths. And then he says, another reason, number 2, Masonry is not Christian in creed. And then he he's gone into some of the publications of our Masonic order, and he's lifted things out. And that is that what he's lifted out is that Masonry is a religion. Well, that's not right. That's incorrect. But he's lifted that out. And then another thing, the third reason that he presents is Masonry espouses universalism. Well, that refers to, in whom do you put your trust? In God. But it doesn't define the definition of God. Each person must decide that for themselves. So we have on the one hand Freemasonry. And for the sake of our discussion tonight, what I'd like to implant within our hearts and our minds, it's not that it is a religious institution, which in a sense it is, in the sense that it borrows religious symbolism and allegory within its ritual work. We could focus on that, but what I would like to share is that Freemasonry is primarily a fraternity. And that's what Brother Davenport wants to point out. And then, that there's a lot of folks out there for very misguided reasons who want to make Masonry kind of an evil. And that it is in opposition to the Christian faith. Well, there are three major religions that we're familiar with. That's Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Then there's Buddhism and Hinduism. And so each of those have various tenets that those who subscribe can either believe them or not believe them, and still be affiliated. Now, one final point that I've witnessed since becoming a Mason. Some of my brothers, for some of my brothers, Masonry is their personal religion. And I make no judgment on that. That's fine. It becomes a substitute for being involved in a church or a synagogue or a mosque, though most of us, we do not encounter Jewish members of our fraternity or Muslim members of our fraternity. As I said, Davenport points out that the majority of Masons in America are Protestants. For Roman Catholics, it's a problem because they have to go to confession and they cannot hold any secrets, and that becomes an issue for a lot of Roman Catholics. But there are folks out there that would like to misrepresent who we are. And I think if we can keep riveted upon the idea riveted upon the notion, the fundamental of Masonry as a fraternity, we make a lot of progress. I use an illustration, and I'll share it with you. It has a kind of a humorous point. In one of my sermons, and I did not originate this, I got it from somewhere. All of you know about football. You've all probably heard of the Green Bay Packers. Now, if you're going to sleep right now, wake up. We're going to talk about the Green Bay Packers. You remember who their famous coach was? Who was it, Jack? I don't know who he was. Vince Lombardi. Vince Lombardi was old school. Football has changed in its nature a lot since Vince Lombardi died at the age of 58 from cancer. Someone asked his widow at his death if she thought Vince could be, or sometime later, they were interviewing her for an article, wasn't right at his death, but later. They asked his widow, could he be a football coach today? And she said no. There wasn't any way he could do it. He was so old school. Well, on one occasion, the Green Bay Packers were having the game, and they won by just a slight margin. Well, this didn't please Vince at all. So the following Monday, he called the team together into the locker room. He said, shut the doors. We're going to talk. And he said, today, men, we're going to talk about the fundamentals of this game. And everybody moved to the edge of their chair and they just looked at him. What in the world does the old man want? We're going to talk about the fundamentals of this game. He must have lost his mind. Well, those were private thoughts that they were entertaining. And within a second or so, he reached down and he said, men, this is a football. We're going to talk about the fundamentals of this game. In Masonry, we focus upon the fundamentals. It's easy to get abstracted, off on different currents. I mean, there are a host of reasons that people give, I'd never be a Mason. It's an evil organization. It's nothing but a cult. All they do is secret stuff down there. Oh, yes, they do a lot of charity work, but Vince said, we're going to focus on the fundamentals of the game. And our fundamental is Freemasonry is a fraternity of brothers knit together through their rituals, through their language, and the language of the rituals, so that we might be better men. End of sermon. Okay, so open for questions now. Let's see what time we got. Well, it's like 7:30, Jack. I guess we missed